Hello and welcome back to the Tin Barn. I'm Pragmatic Lee, and in today's video we're going to use some parts I've had left over on some previous projects to make some hold down feet or make some feet for some DeStaCo hold down clamps. Now I recently picked up a bucket of junk, if you will, during a cleanup I was helping with. There was a bunch of good size, well, from pretty large 1-inch shank eye bolts down to some 5/8 inch eye bolts. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8 of them, assortment of 8 in that bucket. And I started to pick them out of the bucket, and then I saw a couple other things in there, so I just grabbed the whole bucket. But one of the things that was in there was these DeStaCo, DeStaCo hold down clamps. And the package they were in, there were 7 of them in there, and they're in sealed plastic bags. When I opened the first one, I thought, well, I guess somebody opened them up and got the feet out of them for another project and just threw these to the side. But the bags are sealed, and the only thing in the bags was the clamp itself and these 2 washers. Looking online, these clamps sell from anywhere from $18 to $26. And all that I've been able to find had the feet with them. However, again, as I say, these packages are sealed up without the feet. There were 7 of these in there. So what we're going to do today is make some feet, kind of like what you see here in this picture. They're about $4 a piece, but I think I can make something. I got some rubber balls that have a 1/4 insert in them. I needed one of these for a project, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago. Don't even remember now what the project was, but to get one of them, I had to buy a bag of 6 of them, package of 6. So I've had these left over for a number of years here. So we're going to use them. That's a 1/4 insert, but the feet that are available are either 8mm or 5/16. And there's only about 3 thousandths difference between 5/16 and 8mm. And I've got some 5/16 threaded rod here. So what we're going to do is put this in the lathe, turn down about, I don't know, 3/8 of an inch on the end, turn the threads off of it, and then rethread it for 1/4 for this to thread on. We'll cut it about 1 3/4 inches long and dress up the cut in and have some feet. I won't do but one of these on camera, but I'm probably going to use up the rest of this threaded rod here, or at least enough to make 4 of them. I've got 5 of those balls. I'll hang on to one of them for, you never know, it might be a project one day. But to hold this in the lathe to turn it down, the first thing we need to do is make a little sleeve to go over this to keep from damaging these threads when we turn down to 5/16 and use a die to make some 1/4. So let's turn to the lathe now. Okay, as I say, I want a sleeve to go over this 5/16 rod so that when we put it in the chuck, we don't damage the threads. To make that, I've got a piece of 3/4 inch aluminum here, just out of my parts bin or material bin, and we're gonna drill that 5/16. Then we'll carry it over to the bandsaw and split it. Get a center drill in there. And I'm going to cut this about 2 inches deep. Alright, our threaded rod should go in that now, but to give it some clamping space, I'm going to carry it over to the bandsaw and we'll slice this through there, and then that saw cut should give enough room for it to clamp down on, and we'll cut it off at about 2 inches. One more thing I think I'll do before I take it out of the lathe chuck is bring this turning tool right up to it touch it off, advance just a little bit, and then with no power on, what I want to do is just scribe a mark down this side. What that'll do is give me a good indicator or witness mark to follow on the bandsaw. Alright, that should be a good enough mark that I can see it. Alright, I'm over at the vertical bandsaw now, and I've got the workpiece mounted in my drill press vise. It has V-jaw on that, so it should hold it pretty straight. The only thing don't have a whole lot of extra room right here to get started, but I've got that scribe line we put on in the lathe. I've got it up, and I've got hanging out about how deep I want to cut it. So let's see if this is going to work. Alright, that put the slit, of course, through the top and the bottom, and hopefully that saw blade is thick enough that when we clamp this down that it will hold. I think with this being a soft aluminum and the threads on the threaded rod should help grip it pretty good. Now we'll cut it off to length. Alright, here's our two pieces. Let's go back to the lathe now. I'm going to go over to the Scotch-Brite wheel and clean some burrs off of this all the way around, and then meet you back over at the lathe. Okay, let's see if these will clamp down now enough to hold this piece of threaded rod. I don't know, we'll leave a 5/8, 3/4 sticking out. Looks pretty good. We'll come up here and zero out the DRO. Move in about 3/8 of an inch. And set our carriage stop right there. Okay, sorry about that. I got distracted for a minute. I live out in the country, and there's a large highway close by, but not as close as that EMS truck that just come by was. It came right by the house. I had no idea if it was headed to a neighbor's or leaving a neighbor's. Alright, let's turn these threads off of here. We want to turn it down to about 245 thousandths, thereabouts. About 25 more thousandths. And we'll put just a little chamfer on that end layer to lead in our thread. Use my 1/4 die, and this says start with this side, so we'll start with this side. Alright, now we'll turn the die around and pull it right up to the edge again. These dies have a little bit of a recess on what they're calling the starting, to start with that side. And then by turning it around, you're able to pull up to that very last half a thread or so. Alright, now let's see if one of our balls will fit on that. just right. All right, I'm going to take this out of the chuck now. And I'm going to go back over to the bandsaw and cut this to length. Then we'll meet over at the workbench and see how this works out. Threads are still good there. This little clamp served its purpose well. Like I say, I'm going to probably make 4 of these. But I'm going to run to the bandsaw right now and cut this off to length. Okay, so there you have it. Again, these were items that were in just a bucket of whatnot items, but able to make what I think will be some useful clamps when the correct project comes along. I saw this morning as I was having my cup of coffee here in the tin barn, catching up on some videos, and Chuck over at Outside Screwball, Chuck Bomarito, posted his video sometime last night, or he went live sometime last night, dealing with restoring a Wilton tradesman vise. And he had some A2 steel that he needed to cut off with his bandsaw, but obviously the bandsaw couldn't hold. If you saw that video, you saw where bandsaw wouldn't hold pieces of metal that small. So he used clamps similar to this. I think they were probably can't twist clamps style, but he used them on something similar to this. I've made several of these. I've made several videos on them, but his clamps were mounted on those fixture plates, and then this would mount in his bandsaw. So the piece was hanging out here, but this was mounted in the bandsaw. And if you've not seen that video, check it out. But I've got the 4 of them done. That's all the threaded rod I had, and actually all the little balls I had as well. I did realize I was looking at cutting down the size of these balls, and inside this rubber on these balls is actually molded around a piece of hard plastic, much smaller. So I may look at cutting that soft rubber off and using these. That'll give me a little bit more clamping space. Or I may just look online and find some smaller balls, because I've got 3 more of these clamps that I've not made feet for. Do they have some holding power? This is my thin little rule here. That's good clamping power. The ad on that says they have like 300 pounds of holding pressure. I'm not sure about that, but that's a lot right there. Okay, so the question comes up, what do you do with these now? Little clamp served me well. It is unique for 5/16 only. If you tried to put like 3/8 in there, it would, of course, widen it out a little more and would not turn on center in the lathe. So what do you do with these? Do you just throw them away? Throw them in the scrap bin? Make another set should you ever need them? Do you put them away in a safe spot somewhere that you'll never remember again? Or do you do this? Okay, I'm over at my desktop computer now, and the microphone on it I'm sure is going to sound a little different
than the one on the camera. But here's the situation. We got our little thread protector soft jaws to go into to use on the lathe, and we want to put them up somewhere where we can remember where they are. Or if we don't remember where they are, uh, we have an easy way of finding them. In addition to that, the toggle clamps that we made the feet for, um, we're not quite ready to use them in a project right now, so we need to put them away somewhere that we can find them again later. Now, as I've said numerous times in my various videos, I'm a retired computer programmer. 99% of the programs I wrote over my 30 plus year career were backroom server apps, but just recently I've got really interested in writing GUI apps, graphical user interface apps. And one of them that I wrote is called Find a Tool. I'd written a command line version of that many years ago, but here is a quick little look at the GUI version of it. We'll open it up, and we've got some selections here. Find an existing tool, add a tool, change or delete a tool, and what's in a location. So we want to add a tool. All right, the description first off is a 5/16. We'll call these lathe chuck soft jaws. Now, where are we going to put them? Here are all the various places that I store stuff in my tin barn here. I got some file cabinets, FC. I've got parts bins. I've got some shelves over the toolboxes. I've got some freestanding shelving units. And I got some toolboxes. Toolboxes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then I've got a spot on the wall where I got stuff hanging. We're going to put this in file cabinet 3. And it's going to be in a drawer. Each of my locations I've got drawers, shelves, or bins. We're going to put this in drawer 28. I'll show you that file cabinet shortly. All right, we'll add that. The 5/16 lathe chuck soft jaws was added to the database. All right, let's add another tool. Let's add the DeStaCo. They're called toggle clamps. Now we're going to put them in this same filing cabinet, FC3. But we're going to put them in drawer 28. I looked and there's some extra room in drawer 28. So we'll add those. Alright, we exit out of this program. But let's say we come back a month from now and we no idea where we put that stuff. Run the same program, find, and we remember we made them for 5/16. So that's all we're going to put into. What tool do you wish to find? 5/16. Well, we got some 5/16 18 transfer screws. We got tap and die, 5/16 24 tap die, 5/16 nuts and washers. But here's that item, 5/16 lathe soft jaws. Tells us it's in file cabinet 03 in drawer 28. Same thing if we want to find those DeStaCo. Remember before I used camel case, uppercase D, uppercase S, uppercase O. Let's find that. Now that tells us that's in file cabinet 3 again, drawer 28. There are several other things you can do with this and change those tools. Or let's find everything that's in file cabinet 3. And there they are. That's all the various items in file cabinet 3. Now, lots more that can be done with this, but I just wanted to give you a taste of it. If you're interested in that or this program, which I call Machinist Utilities, has a calculator built into it, has a metric to imperial converter, vice versa, decimal to fraction, taper calculator, a compound travel. What's that? If I'm cutting 20 threads per inch, that says my compound, the dial on my compound should move 38 thousandths. Bolt hole patterns. If I know I got a bolt hole pattern that's got 5 holes in it, and the distance between the holes is 1.256, calculate. That tells me my circle diameter is 2.137. Bolt hole pattern. You ever want to look at a bolt hole pattern before you lay it out on the mill DRO and print it or and cut it? This allows you to put in such things as the workpiece diameter, the bore diameter if it has a bore, reverse X or Y, just according to how your DRO works. And then you can put up to 4 patterns with a pattern diameter, number of holes, hole diameter, starting and ending angles. And this will actually draw it for you. You can see it. You can print it out. So let me know if you're interested in seeing video or maybe more than one on these little utilities I've written. Let's look over at that file cabinet right quick and put those tools up.
Now this is what I'm calling file cabinet 3. Over here we have just a standard 4-drawer file cabinet. That's file cabinet 01. This is a 9-drawer file cabinet. That's my file cabinet 02. Here are toolboxes 1, 2, and 3. But again, this is one, never got around to painting it. But up here on all my storage areas, there's a little tag up in the upper left-hand corner as you're facing the container. This one says FC03. And we said we're going to put these little soft jaws, we said we'll put them in drawer 28. We also said we would put the DeStaCo clamps in drawer 27. So let me grab up the 4 that we just made the feet for. Drop them in. But also the other 3 that we hadn't done anything with yet. We need to get them off the workbench and put them up. So they'll be in this drawer as well. Well, there you go. Hope you enjoyed this video. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one.